Hello then, welcome to the Nutmeg on Guardian TV. My name is Solomon Fowe. Of course, there are no games this weekend in club football. It's international break, but still there's so many things to talk about in the footballing world. I'm here with Deji Farami, who is a sports journalist. How's it going, Deji?
Yeah, doing very well. How are you, Solomon?
I'm very well. So, tell me, are you a fan of the international break or not?
No. I don't think there's anyone who supports the international break or who loves the international break. I think ultimately, once the break starts, we get into it eventually.
Okay, we just warm up to it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why it's called the international break, yeah? Because
there's a break of something.
Club football is
exactly.
the main thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So, in international break, we have Nigeria playing against Ukraine, although that comes up on Tuesday. And we're going to be drilling down on Gernot Rohr, because we're looking at the side, the post-AFCON side. We saw them finish third. So what next for Gernot Rohr's side? So what do you expect him to do differently? Because there were talks about he not continuing at the job, and ultimately he's there at the job now. What do you think he should be doing differently?
So my first thoughts concerning Gernot Rohr were, he had to leave. I thought he had to leave.
Okay.
Not because he's been a bad coach. I think he's been an absolutely great coach for the national team. When he picked us up, I think we are just drawn goalless against Swaziland.
Yes,
The preliminaries of the World Cup qualifiers, and we looked like we're in shambles. We're very terrible.
But not qualified for the past two AFCON.
Exactly, and then it took us to the AFCON, took us to the World Cup, of course. Before then, went spectacular the World Cup, but could pass. We had a victory over one of the strong sides in Europe at the point, Iceland. So yeah, I thought he had done well, despite the defeat against Algeria.
So you saw progress.
I saw progress, but then I also saw a trait against Algeria that I saw against Argentina at the World Cup.
Okay.
And that trait is of a coach who is reluctant to make proactive changes. Against Argentina, I thought we had to make some changes, both tactically and personnel-wise. And, same thing against Algeria as well. From a tactical standpoint, I don't think Gernot Rohr is at the highest level.
All right.
And I don't think that he can improve much. And that's why I thought he should leave.
Well, it's still in the side now. And
yeah, exactly.
Now we're getting new faces. We have Joe Aribo, Josh Maja, Brand New has always been there, Maduka Okoye. But we're seeing a side that is without John Mikela and Odion Igalo. So which of these pieces do you think fits in when it comes to replacing, you're talking about John Mikela and Odion Igalo? How do you think it's Gernot Rohr can go about it the best way in replacing these guys?
Okay, so the first thing, especially for Odion Igalo, is we're excited about Victor Osimhen, who's been scoring 4 goals in his first 3 games for Lille. And that's a good sign, really, because you want a player who's in form, you want a player who's confident as well. And I think Victor Osimhen would fit in very well. He finally gets a chance, which is a good thing. The big fear is with John Mikela, and I think it takes us back to the kind of problems we had after Gigi Okocha retired.
Exactly.
A player who could play as an attacking midfielder, who could drop into central midfield. That kind of player is a mold that we still need. When you look at the current squad, there's Ndidi, there's a Tebo, there's a City who's coming in as well for Ndidi. But you don't see that player, from a personal point of view, and then a leadership point of view as well, that can properly replace John Mikela. I think that's a big worry for Gernot Rohr. He would have to look for that player, have to look for a system whereby he could play maybe without John Mikela. Maybe he goes with a 4-4-2 with Ndidi and a Tebo, with maybe Alex Iwobi dropping into that hole and playing as a number 10. We've seen that, of course, a few times already. So there will be a lot he has to do tactically to plan his team differently without John Mikela. I think he's got his work cut out as far as that's concerned.
So you're not sold on Joe Aribo and Ndesine City, like replacing to some extent for what John Mikela does?
National team is different, Solomon. It's
Exactly.
really different. Some players do well with their club side. Some players, play different role with their club sides, and then when they come to the national team, it's a different thing entirely. So I'm not sold really yet. I think when they play a few games, and that's where Gernot Rohr really should, improve his team. He needs to give many of these guys opportunities. We've seen a lot of the old guys, Ndidi, Tebo, we've seen these guys. And I'm excited, with all due respect to Ndidi, I'm excited that Ndidi is not going to be around because we've seen him. I think that he should try his hands on some of these younger guys. We have huge windows sort of before the next major competition. There are friendlies, there are qualifiers as well. And these qualifiers aren't particularly the toughest matches. You need to mix things around. If we are, quote unquote, rebuilding or trying to build towards a different era with so many young players, and the coach has to work as well.
Yeah, I think I'm sold on the captain of the under-23 side, Azubike Okechukwu, who just moved to Istanbul, Başakşehir, and I think I've seen him a couple of times, and I think he fits into that mold of Mikela, especially when you're looking at a player that can break up play and also has a good range of passing. But away from that, what would constitute success for Gernot Rohr, as in heading forward? What would he do that you would say, okay, this guy has been even more successsul than he has been?
I guess that's a problem, though, because he'll have to surpass what he's done already, and that's quite difficult because what more can he do? He qualified for the Cup of Nations and the World Cup in flying colors. So yeah, maybe if he does that again,
he equals what he has done.
Yeah,
before.
and then the Cup of Nations in 2021. If he doesn't have any problems with the NFF and gets sacked before then, but then the Cup of Nations in 2021, if he qualifies, I think at least he gets to the semi-final again.
Okay, so away from that, as much as we'll be excited about the new array of talents that are coming into the Super Eagles, although we also have to touch on a very sensitive issue in the sense of, there was an article that was written by Tolu Olasoji for Al Jazeera, was also published on The Guardian, and it was about why do Nigerian players get stranded in foreign countries? We've seen this thing happen so many times. There was a report during the World Cup, that was the 2018 World Cup, where a whole lot of players, a raft of players were moved to Russia with the hopes of getting probably a contract after they moved in with fan IDs. So why does this thing happen over and again, where they fall in the hands of sham agents, where they get shitty contracts, and over again we see these things play out? Moshood Abiola was the interest of that story. We hear that he's doing a whole lot better and he has signed a better contract with the Mongolian side, but how do we stop these things from happening?
What do you think? First, we need to have a strong league. It's unfortunate that the NPFL, as we call it, there's nothing professional about it, really. It's not a solid league. It's not the kind of league where, footballers want to stay. Maybe 90% of the footballers who play in the NPFL want to play outside the NPFL. And, that's not a good sign. It's not really a good sign. They are not players who are, properly loyal to their clubs or loyal to the league. Because the league is not properly run. And when you have that kind of football culture, in Nigeria at the moment, everyone looking to go out, then everyone will be looking to go out to anywhere. And that's a major problem. And then you look at, economics, the strength of the Naira and all of that compared to, so many other countries in the world.
Eastern European sides especially.
So basically, if you can earn money playing football anywhere in the world, you are almost better than earning money. Playing football in Nigeria. And that desperation leads to all of this. The desperation leads to, agents telling you can go to Azerbaijan, you can go to Malta, you can go to anywhere. And, that's where it starts, really. I think it's up to us to work on our league. It's up to us, to get proper football clubs. Because without proper football clubs, then we can't have a solid league. And then when we saw that, it reduces the desperation. I mean, you spoke about Moshood, and I read the story. You could see that he still wanted to stay in Mongolia.
Anywhere but Nigeria.
Yeah, anywhere but Nigeria. That's not a good sign. If a player is so desperate to stay in Mongolia, it's Mongolia. Like when you think about Mongolia, you don't think about football. That's not the first thing you think about.
Exactly.
It's probably the last thing you think about. If anyone wants to play football in Mongolia, then I think it's an indictment, on our structures. Yeah, on our structures. We need to be worried, really worried. Yeah,
and also looking at agents, I think there also has to be a proper structure, like you said, when it comes to handling of agents and intermediaries. FIFA has done a whole lot trying to reduce the number of sham agents, taking out what you call agency and bringing in football intermediaries, although it's pretty much
same thing.
Some of the same. So, but Is there any way that they could do a whole lot better in structuring the number of people that leave, especially officially when you're looking at it, when you live through official channels from, say, anyone going from Nigeria to another country? You're living through official channels and you're not taking backdoors and signing deals that you're not even certain of, especially in places like Mongolia or Russia or whatever you're going to.
Obviously, we can do so much more on that, but again, I wouldn't blame the agents really, because there's a market for that. There's a window for that in many cases, and you know, I've had a few experiences as well regarding this. What would often happen is that there's this guy. He calls himself an agent. He's not really an agent because, you know, maybe he's not FIFA authorized to be an agent. But then what he does is he has a contact in Mongolia, he has a contact in Malta, he has a contact somewhere in the world, and then that person tells him, oh, if you can introduce me to a certain player, if you can introduce me to this player, then you get paid this amount, you know, for getting me this player. When they are introduced, or when the player is introduced to the club, in many cases, the player gets a visa, travels to the club, you know, similar to what we had with Moshood as well. Travels to the club looks at the player for a bit, and then they give the player a contract, give the agent his money, and that's it, really. And then everything in the end is heaped on the player. Obviously, because the player is desperate as well. So
he's just going to sign anything.
Yeah, he's just going to sign anything. He's happy that he's left the country. He's happy that he's talking to a football club, you know, that is not in Nigeria. And then he's going to sign anything. And from there, you wonder what he's signed. You wonder if he's signed, you know, himself into slavery. You don't know. The agent is back in Nigeria. He probably didn't even leave Nigeria in the first place. He has dollars as well. And, you know, it's all on the player from there on.